Hey folks, Dr. Dan from DocTalk. Thanks for joining us today. My guest today is going to be Dr. Tiffany Lee. We're going to talk about transportation of cattle, and it's something that we see on a daily basis on our highways and byways, going to farms, slaughter facilities, sale barns. Stay tuned. This is bound to be a great show.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. I'm here with Dr. Tiffany Lee. Tiffany, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Folks, Dr. Lee is a veterinarian here at the Beef Cattle Institute at Kansas State University, and she's been doing a lot of work out in the field and on the computer and writing in not only beef cattle welfare, but specifically when it comes to transportation of beef cattle.
Yes, I've been doing, basically this whole summer I've been doing that. It's been great, actually.
Yeah, well, and you're doing a great job. You're doing such a service for the industry. And so we kind of broke the show down, folks, into the right cattle, the right environment, the right people, and the right equipment. And so we're going to jump right into it, and let's talk about the right cattle. What are some of the things, and maybe it's the wrong cattle that we need to talk about, but what are some of the things when it comes to selecting the right or wrong animals to be transported?
Well, I think the type of animal that you select, that you're transporting, is a huge thing that you need to think about. We can transport anything from calves to fat cattle, cull cows and bulls. So we need to determine what type of cattle that we're going to transport, and then we need to determine whether they're fit for transport. And this is especially important in cull cows, because a lot of times these cows are being culled for a reason. Whether it's not being reproductively sound, not having a good body condition, or even other pathological states. We need to determine that they are fit to transport before they even leave the farm.
Yeah, I think that's the term. When you look at most transportation guidelines, it's fit for transport. Are these animals fit to be transported, and not having a downed animal when they arrive? So what are some of the some of the things when it what are some of the reasons why these animals might not be fit for transport?
Sure. There's a number of reasons. Pathological states are probably the biggest one. For example, if you have a lame cow or an animal with even a broken leg, you really don't want to transport animals like that. Animals with prolapses or things like that, lesions such as cancer eye, those animals really probably shouldn't leave the farm. Unless they have been examined by a veterinarian and some extraneous circumstance comes around where they need to leave the farm, they probably should stay there and be handled on the farm rather than be transported to a slaughter facility or an auction barn.
Great. So what about, when we look at fats or feeder cattle, is there anything that we talk about the cull and market cow, but what about fats and feeders?
Sure. Fats and feeders, the biggest thing with them is knowing the right cattle to put in certain compartments and things like that. Because if you transport them in the same trailer, we definitely don't want them together where larger cattle can stomp on smaller cattle get pushed around and stuff. We definitely don't want that. And again, other pathologic states such as lameness. Fat cattle can get some pretty bad lameness if it's not managed, and we don't want to potentiate that by putting them on a truck and taking them somewhere where when they get there it's going to cause them to be even more lame or be down.
Cool. Great way to segue into this subject. We've talked about picking the right animals. When we come back, we'll talk about the environment and transportation with beef cattle. You're watching DocTalk. Thanks for joining us.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here, and I'm inviting you to come to the McCain Auditorium on October 12th to be a part of the Henry C. Gardner Global Food Systems Lecture Series, and the featured speaker will be Greg Page. He's going to discuss climate change in agriculture. When you think of climate change and the impact that agriculture may have on it, everybody involved with agriculture needs to be there. I hope that you can attend. We'll see you on the Kansas State campus. Again, that's October 12th, McCain Auditorium, and I'll see you down the road.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. DocTalk, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Tiffany Lee, and we're from the College of Veterinary Medicine and the Beef Cattle Institute at Kansas State University. Thanks for tuning in to this important conversation that we're having with Dr. Lee, who's an expert in cattle transportation and beef cattle welfare, to talk about, we've talked about the right cattle, now let's talk about the right environment. And I'm assuming that we're talking about weather.
Most of the time, yeah. Anything else that you really talk about, anything else, you're probably not going to see any other changes from the environment except for the weather. Okay. So you're basically talking about heat stress and cold weather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump right into the heat stress, because I know that heat stress, we have packers out there that will call in the summertime for a 2 p.m. shipping.
Yeah.
And that can be the hottest part of the day. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk a little bit about heat stress and some of this with shipping cattle.
Sure. Yeah, and cattle are pretty prone to heat stress anyway, and then you pack them in a truck. They can get, the humidity in that truck can get really high, and just the heat itself can get really high. So we need to pay attention to the outside weather as well, because the outside weather is going to affect what happens in that truck. So we want to haul cattle if it's going to be hot in the early hours of the day, and then at night as well. The time that you really don't want to haul cattle is probably around from 11 o'clock in the morning to about 4 o'clock in the evening, because that's the hottest part of the day. And one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily think about, we always think about temperature, it's going to be 95 degrees, but we also have to consider humidity, because that humidity can have a real effect on those cattle. And then you get them in the truck and they've got their breathing, and that's humid as well. And so the temperature and the humidity can really work against those cattle.
Okay. Well, one of the things is we are going to have cattle that are going to be shipped during the heat of the day. But the big thing that combats that is, if we can, ship them early morning and in the evening. But we can't let those trucks stop during the heat of the day, because one thing that'll alleviate or decrease that thermal heat index is wind speed. So getting breeze in that truck can be really important, right?
Yes, that's extremely important. And when we're hauling cattle, in the heat of the day, we need to make sure that every place where we have ventilation is open. You don't want to leave anything closed off. We want as much wind in there as we can. And when the drivers are driving on the road, usually it's okay. We want to make sure that we don't stop if we don't have to. And if we do have to stop, it needs to be for the shortest amount of time as possible. And also, if we can find a shaded area to park that truck in, that would be even better.
You bet. Well, let's talk a little bit about cold weather, because I don't think that we think about that a lot, but we can have some issues with cattle in cold weather as well.
Definitely. We can risk frostbite, especially ears, tails, things like that. The biggest things to help with cold, because you get these cattle in the trucks and they're going down the highway, it gets pretty cold. That wind does. So we do want to try to. This is a point where we want to try to decrease the ventilation and keep that warm air inside. So sidewall slats, those are really good. And then if possible, again, this kind of depends on scheduling and stuff, but traveling during the daylight also helps as well.
Yep. Well, we're going to have to take a break. One other thing on that, we don't want to have ice build up and make the floor slick.
Slick, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great information. Hot weather, cold weather, we're going to have to do some things to adjust to make sure the cattle are comfortable. More on transportation with Dr. Tiffany Lee right after this break.
The BQA Tip of the Day, sponsored by Beringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Inc.
As we look at one of the main components of beef quality assurance, is the care and handling of livestock, in particular beef cattle in our case. So if we look at how we talk about that, we talk about nutrition, protection from the elements. One of the main components of that is how we handle and process cattle. The stockmanship is a key component of that. Everybody can get their cattle processed, but if we do it in a manner that the cattle are allowed to learn and actually think their way through the processing areas, it's less stressful on them, it's safer on the people handling the cattle as well. So from a stockmanship standpoint, we really try to get producers to understand how a cow thinks, how they perceive our actions around them, and how to use those two things, their flight zone, point of balance, and other aspects of behavior, to get them to do what we need them to do without stressing the cattle.
Broadband has become as important to us as highways. That is why DocTalk is teaming up with NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and rural broadband companies like Blue Valley Telecommunications in fighting for quality broadband access through the program Smart Rural Communities.
I don't think we have any idea what's coming in the future. I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago what we're doing today. So in 2 years, I would guess there's things we can't imagine that we're going to be doing.
To learn more, visit ntca.org/smart or bluevalley.net.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
DocTalk, brought to you by
The Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson and Dr. Tiffany Lee from Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine and the Beef Cattle Institute. Thanks for tuning in, where we're lucky enough to have Dr. Lee here on the show to talk about her expertise in cattle transportation. And we talked about the right cattle, the right environment. Now we need the right driver. And what exactly do we mean by the right driver?
Sure. I think that the biggest thing is the driver really needs to know that he or she has a responsibility, an obligation to take care of those animals that he or she is transporting. I think that's the biggest thing. Experience and training does help. There is there are trainings for animal handling, loading and unloading off of trucks. For example, the transportation quality assurance that really helps to develop those handling skills and the knowledge that we need when people are transporting cattle.
Yeah, and folks, if you want to see it, it's a wonderful program. The Master Transporter, the Transportation Beef Quality Assurance is at bqa.org, and if you go there, you can find it. You can take this training. Lots of experts in how to load trucks,
Yes.
which animals to put in which compartments, how to handle inclement weather. Lots of good training to get drivers where they need to be and get some of that experience.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's a great resource. It teaches drivers things that you don't necessarily think of when you're just you say, oh, well, we're just going to load these cattle and drive and unload them. There's a lot more to it, and I think it covers pretty much everything that we do need to know.
You bet. Making sure that we decrease the amount of stress and use proper cattle handling, knowing what to do when we have icy roads or when we need to stop. Some of those things,
Yes.
or when we can't stop, are really going to be important for these. And we're starting to see some of the groups, the larger cattle buying groups, whether it's on the slaughter end or on the feeder end, requiring this transportation beef quality assurance training for transporters to haul cattle for them.
Yes, and I think I believe that I have seen the difference that it makes in attitude and just the way that people handle cattle. I think it really does make a huge difference. Yeah.
And the other thing is that you have to start out with, I've been listening to some different tapes. I've got plenty of genetic defects of my own. But you can't change others, you can only change yourself. You can provide exposure to others. And so when you have truck drivers or people around cattle that don't care about the cattle, you're generally not going to be able to change them. And looking for the right person can be pretty important.
I very much agree. You really have to have someone that's dedicated to not only getting the cattle where they need to go, but taking care of those cattle along the way, because that's the most important thing. We need that good welfare, before transport, after transport, but during transport as well.
Yeah, one thing that everybody that's watching out there needs to know is we have some wonderful people in this industry that haul cattle up and down these roads, that are great cattlemen, that are great truck drivers, and our industry could not function without them. We thank you that's out there on the road. We thank you in the industry. When we come back after this break, more with Dr. Tiffany Lee.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery. And so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results with stem cell injections, but at about 3 to 3.5 months, I started to feel better. I started to have less pain and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously.
Hey, it's Dr. Dan here, inviting you to Animal Science and Industries Family and Friends Reunion.
Whether you're an alumnus, a family member, or a friend like myself, I would encourage you to attend the Family and Friends Reunion on October 9th as a way to network, connect, or reconnect with friends of yours in your segment of the livestock industry.
K-State has many traditions. Agriculture and football are at the top of the list. So I'll see you in Manhattan, Kansas on October 9th for the Animal Science and Industries Family and Friends Reunion.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher. Get the new hired hand for yourself or become a distributor. Visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains, we would like to join your management team.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. We're sure glad you joined us. Glad you stayed through the messages. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and this is Dr. Tiffany Lee. And Dr. Lee is a veterinarian and an animal welfare expert here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. And we're talking about transporting animals. We got the right cattle, the right driver, it's the right environment. The last one is the right equipment.
Yes.
So what are we talking about with equipment?
Well, we can talk about a number of things. Definitely trailer type is a big thing that we want to touch on. The different driving aids that we can use. Most of the time, we want to keep those to a minimum.
Wait a second. Driving aids is not like
a person.
Aids.
No.
This can be a driving aid.
Driving for the cattle,
folks,
not
okay?
for the people.
My driving aid is caffeine. Okay.
I agree with that one. I agree with that one.
So let's talk about the trailer types.
Sure.
What's some of the stuff you've been doing this summer?
Well, we've been looking at different trailer types and looking at the bruising episodes that we see these cattle coming off these different trailer types, looking to see if they hit their backs or their shoulders, their hips on certain areas of the trailer, such as the bottom edge of that top deck, and then the doors coming out those trailer doors. And I've seen a lot of areas where we might be able to improve. I don't know what we're going to be able to do, but we'll figure it out. But the bracket that holds that sliding ramp up, we see a lot of bruises there. I think the biggest difference that we can tell so far is the difference between fat trailers, which are designed specifically to haul fat cattle, and then fat feeder combo trailers, which can haul either one. They've got that extra compartment up in the nose. And they're a little bit, the fat feeder combos are just a little bit tighter for those fat cattle. It's just not as roomy, and they do have a little bit more potential to have bruising episodes in those trailers. But I think that we as an industry are moving forward to go towards more of those fat trailers for fat cattle.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about then the driving aids. We've got about 30, 40 seconds here. What are some of the things? Obviously, Temple Grandin, Tom Knopfsinger.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I think Dr. Tom, I've talked to Dr. Tom about this, and he agrees, the biggest thing is cattle, when they come off those trailers, they want to come off. So let them come off. I think that's the biggest thing. You don't necessarily need a driving aid all the time. And if you do, usually a rattle paddle is more than sufficient. Electric prods, really, I don't know that they really do a lot except for get those cattle excited.
Yep.
So.
Well, cattle really want to come off the truck.
They do.
Hogs, on the other hand, that have been inside, they're a different story. And so they're used to being inside. They're not used to being outside.
Yeah.
Cattle are used to being outside, not being inside. So there's total different dynamics when you're unloading hogs versus
Definitely.
Cattle. Well, thanks a million for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Always appreciate all that you're doing for our industry. Folks, thanks for watching Doc Talk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. Remember, we always want you to work with your local veterinarian. And if you want to find out more about what Dr. Lee and I do here at Kansas State University, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. Thanks for watching the show today. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson from DocTalk, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamnkansas.com.